You're listening to The Wells Report, which will return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good morning. I'm John David Wells. Welcome to the broadcast. What do we do here? We report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is debate. It is opinion. And we compare those. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. As I said, this is Monday. It's April 22nd, year of our Lord, 2022. So as we get to the news today, the opening arguments in former President Donald Trump's historic and unprecedented criminal trial have begun this morning. The judge is also expected today to rule on several motions that could make the trial even more difficult for the former president. The full jury of 12 plus 6 alternates were selected and sworn in last Friday. This after 4 days of jury selection. By the way, this is being reported by Fox News. Judge Juan Merchan, who is presiding over the trial, instructed jurors not to discuss or research anything related to the former president's case over the weekend while serving on the panel. Merchan said opening arguments will be delivered by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's team and Trump defense attorneys. Trump, the presumptive presidential candidate for the Republican Party, has been charged by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg with 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. The charges are related to alleged hush money payments made to adult film actress Stormy Daniels ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Trump has pled not guilty to all counts. He's blasted the trial as pure politics. A political persecution, maintains his innocence. The former president, first ever to be a defendant in a criminal trial, vowed to tell the truth if he takes the stand. There are live updates, and by the way, these come from NBC News. Their bullet points are as follows. The opening statements have begun today in the former President Donald Trump's historic New York criminal trial. Lawyers from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office will deliver their opening statement, followed by the defense. A source with direct knowledge of the situation tells NBC News that former National Enquirer publisher David Pecker will be the first witness for the prosecution. Prosecutors have described Pecker as a central figure in the alleged scheme to bury claims from women who said they had affairs with Donald Trump. By the way, Judge Juan Merchan said the court will end at 2 p.m. Eastern time today and be off tomorrow for Passover. Trump faces 34 counts of falsifying business records related to the hush money payment to adult films actress Stormy Daniels. He's pled not guilty and denied a relationship with Daniels. So this is 5 minutes ago. Excuse me. It's allergy season in Texas. The jury has been brought into the room. They are seated for the first time as a group. It does not appear that any Trump family members are there. Alvin Bragg is in the courtroom. Also, Juror 9 was concerned about media attention, but will indeed remain on the jury. Merchan has said the court received a call from Juror 9 who expressed concerns. After a meeting with the juror and the lawyers for both sides, the judge announced the juror will remain on the jury. And as we said, the trial will cease in honor of the Passover holiday. So this is Fox News and their reporting of this story. Trump, the presumptive presidential nominee for the Republican Party, has indeed been charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. He is pled not guilty. Trump attorney Will Scharf told Fox News that the case should have never been brought. The facts are on his client's side. Quote, while the prosecution and the media are hell-bent on sensationalizing this case, we're focusing on the facts because the facts show that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong, unquote. Scharf went on to say, this is a business records case. Those business records accurately reflected payments to one of President Trump's lawyers as legal retainer fees. Additionally, those records were not actually entered by President Trump. He was busy running the country from the White House while all this was happening in Trump Tower in New York City. The former president is subject to a gag order, which Merchan imposed upon him last month before the trial began. Merchan ordered that Trump cannot make or direct others to make public comments about witnesses concerning their potential participation, about counsels in the case, other than brag, or about the court staff, DA staff, or family members of staff. Excuse me, got my coordination wrong. So what this is all about is a cobbled up case, at least in my opinion, from Alvin Bragg to try to smear President Trump in front of the 2024 election based on conduct before the 2016 election. Most people in the United States, when polled, say that this is political persecution, just as President Trump says. And all I can say is that it looks like that to me as well. This is not a case that I think is going to go very far, although the jury will have a vote. As a matter of fact, they will hear all this evidence and they will determine whether or not President Trump indeed is guilty of falsifying business records. It seems clear cut to me. He paid a lawyer who is licensed to give advice to his client about how to handle various things, various legal matters. So the lawyer says this is what we should do. President Trump pays the lawyer. The lawyer pays Stormy Daniels, and then changes his story completely after being disbarred and essentially being convicted of perjury in court. So, I don't see how this goes anywhere. I don't see how it's anything more than a regurgitation of something that was discussed before 2016. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, so New York, after deciding what they wanted to do, which was try to nail Trump on falsifying his applications for loans from a bank, and several banks who said we love doing business with Donald Trump, we get paid, and everybody's fine. That's what happened in the court of Judge Arthur Engoron. But for whatever reason, the predetermined guilt led to a fine of $455 million. That was immediately cut down by the New York appellate process to $175 million. And now, oh, by the way, there's another story that New York Attorney General Letitia James is now trying to get the bond thrown out because that bonding company has never done business in New York. And she doesn't believe that the bonding company has the money. It's none of her business. It's none of her business. The bonding company has agreed to issue the bond, paid for by Donald Trump. They stand by the wherewithal, the actual concept of if President Trump, for example, decides to run on this bond, they'll pay $175 million. This is basically a absurd feeding frenzy against President Trump, at least in New York, with all of these legal machinations. Something that the framers of this nation sought to fix with the impeachment clause in the Constitution. So I don't know how all this goes out, except, of course, that the jury might just decide, hey, we want to get Trump. And so they just agree to things that will be immediately overturned under appeal. And Scharf, the defense attorney, who says, look, this is a media and the prosecution hell bent on sensationalizing this case. I don't see that that's wrong. I don't see that that's wrong. Will Scharf has got it nailed. So I don't see where this is going to go. As far as the gag order, once again, we have an issue here where the judge has decided that a man running for president cannot talk about this case. All the while, prosecutors are talking about the case. The media is ruminating over the case, et cetera, quoting loose comments by people from all over the country. And President Trump is not supposed to sit there and react. He's supposed to sit in that trial room, that trial court, and be smeared by people saying rotten things about him, but he's not supposed to respond. That's not the way things work. It's also another point that this ill-advised legal push really needs to be addressed. This is freedom of speech. This is freedom of speech. You get to say what you want to say. I mean, everybody says, well, wait a minute, Donald Trump will say something and then somebody will get a death threat. Okay. What about the death threats against Donald Trump and his family? Do those matter? These people have been smeared from one end to the other end of the state of New York for years at this point. And so if somebody responds, well, you can't do that because people might be put in danger. There was also something else that came out while we were gone. I've been off for a couple of days. But there was a trial balloon floated in the mainstream media that if indeed Donald Trump is, say, for example, found guilty in this court proceeding, that President Biden may withdraw his Secret Service protection. Oh, really? The same Democrats that are talking about personal violence against themselves and other people and their families and so on and so forth are perfectly willing to leave Donald Trump unprotected if indeed this political show trial comes up with some kind of ridiculous conclusion. Seriously? So if there is violence, when somebody talks about Trump or something like that, Trump people going against Trump people throwing death threats against people who say rotten things about Donald Trump, the inverse or the corollary on that is that it happens to the family of Donald Trump and Trump himself. But what we're going to do is we're going to just completely cancel his protection. Are you serious? Once again, this gets to this two-tiered system. One set of rules for Democrats, one set of rules for anti-Trump people, and another set of rules for people who support the former president. Really? And that's where we find ourselves. In this broadcast, I have constantly talked about how hypocrisy is ruining the nation. It is ruining the nation. And this unbelievable push to try to smear Donald Trump for the sake of trying to remove him from the presidential campaign in 2024 is just plain wrong. That's the way I see it. You don't have to agree. Our telephone number is 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Yeah, I was talking a little bit about the fact that I've been on State Guard assignment for the last few days. I've got another one of those State Guard assignments coming up this week. So this show and tomorrow's show will be, and I may do Wednesday. I'm not exactly sure. I got to find out about the scheduling. But it's Texas State Guard season. It's where I serve in the Texas State Guard. By the way, nothing I say about the Guard has anything to do with the Guard itself or the Texas Military Department or the governor and so on and so on. It's just me serving my state. And so there's more of that to do. I'll have more details on that in a minute. This is the Wells Report. Stick around. We'll be back with more coming up in just a minute as we continue for Monday morning.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, good morning. This is the Wells Report. John David Wells at your service. I want to thank the people, specifically Brad, who said, thank goodness we have people like you in the state card. Thanks, man. It's great to be here. I want to make something abundantly clear. I do not use my state guard service to promote this broadcast. I will, however, use the broadcast to promote the Texas State Guard. And if you want to become a Texas State Guardsman, by all means, just raise your right hand, put your hand over your heart. I can get you in today. Maybe. So a lot of people were wondering what I was up to, and I can certainly talk about that. Probably will a little bit later on in the show. I am very circumspect about what we do before an event, but I can talk a little bit about it afterwards, and I'll explain just exactly what was going on. in just a bit. So this is the Wells Report. We're talking about the opening statements and the beginning of the Trump hush money trial in New York in earnest. And there is something going on here that we need to discuss. We will see courtroom sketches of the trial. We will not see the trial in video or any kind of camera shots or anything like that because New York doesn't allow it. And this puts us in a position where we, the people of the United States, are being screwed over. And I'm going to explain it. The mainstream media is biased, not just against President Trump, but also against conservative politics in general. The people who work through the mainstream media are overwhelmingly Democrat or leftist, depending on their particular raving of the day. We know that's true. We know that this is a political prosecution. At least I'm pretty sure it is. And I think that with polling information that says the exact same thing, I believe that I'm on firm ground when I say, yes, indeed, this is a political lawfare persecution. So we're not allowed to see what's going on. That means that everything that we have from the courtroom is filtered through by reporters. It's filtered through a biased media. We're not going to get fair coverage of what's going on in that courtroom. Further, we are in a position where this is political. And indeed, if we were able to see it, the jury of the whole, all of us in the United States, we'd be able to see through exactly what Alvin Bragg is doing. Now, that's one way or another. I'm not saying you're going to see through Alvin Bragg's case and think that Alvin Bragg is a jerk. You might see through Alvin Bragg's case as totally and completely valid. But what has to happen is that we need to see it. This is unprecedented. We have never prosecuted a president of the United States, especially when he was running for an election in the very same year. We should be impaneled as a jury of the whole. All of us need to see this trial unfold to make our own determinations about it, our own decisions. And that we are not doing that puts this in an even more scurrilous paradigm. It's just scurrilous. The reason that New York doesn't want to have any of these things is because, well, goodness gracious, it turns it into a circus. I have news. It's already a circus. That we are not able to see this courtroom drama unfold day after day after day because of New York is absolutely outrageous, in my view. This needs to be televised for good or ill. Whether your particular point of view is represented regarding Trump as a bad guy or as a good guy, we all need to see it. And if we did see it, I believe that there would be, shall we say, political prosecutors around the country that would realize, well, wait a minute, if I do that, I could actually look like a horse's ass in front of the entire nation. Yes, not saying that that's the case with Alvin Bragg, but I'm saying that that is a possibility that I think would temper some of this prosecutorial decision-making. This is the Wells Report, back in just a moment.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. My name is John David Wells. We give you the news honestly and fairly. We depropagandize the mainstream media. Well, Israel is at war with Gazan Palestinians. Also, Israel is at least in conflict with Iran. And there were all kinds of machinations around the country with regard to people protesting Israel on American soil, chanting death to America, death to Israel, etc., etc. Well, those demonstrations continue today Indeed, CNN reports at least 40 protesters have been arrested. WTNH, Channel 8 in New Haven, Connecticut, filed this report, and I want you to see it. This is the Wells Report. Check this out.
Yeah, we've got more than 100 protesters here out in front of Woolsey Hall, one of the main buildings on campus. Let's just take a look out here. We're at the corner of Grove Street and College Street. And they've been out here for at least an hour or so out here. They are not blocking traffic. They are blocking the sidewalk. There have been several arrests, not of people out here. The people who have been arrested have been led out from inside of Woolsey Hall. So some kind of protest went on inside where they're not allowing us to go. Those students or whoever they were led one at a time out of the building in handcuffs, put on a waiting shuttle bus that has since left here. So you can see the Yale police officers here. They're keeping the crowd from getting inside. They are continuing to chant and sing pro-Palestinian things out here. And we are waiting to hear from the university exactly what those people will be charged with inside and how much longer these folks are going to be out here chanting and protesting. But you can hear the chants, anti-war, pro-Palestine, things like that. We'll keep on top of this as the morning goes on. For now, live in New Haven, I'm Kent Pierce. Back to you.
All right, Ken Pierce from WTNH giving us that report. Thanks, Ken. I appreciate it. At least 40 protesters have been arrested. This during that pro-Palestinian rally, which, by the way, is happening right now at Yale University. Those arrested face charges of trespassing. That's a Class A misdemeanor, according to Yale Police Chief Anthony Campbell. Speaking to the campus news publication, Campbell said those arrests would be released. Those who were arrested would be released after processing. The police chief said protesters had been warned twice before the arrests, one at 11 p.m. last night, again Monday morning, this morning, before 7 a.m. Journalists from the Yale Daily News were also threatened with arrest if they did not move from the plaza, according to the publication. Cops have gathered at Beneke Plaza, where the pro-Palestinian protesters are urging Yale to divest from military weapons manufacturers, and they set up tents overnight. It's the third night of their ongoing encampment, according to the Yale Daily News. The CNN has reached out to Yale University, Yale Police Department, and the New Haven Police Department in Connecticut for more information. Tensions at many U.S. universities have been high ever since the October 7th terror attack perpetrated by Hamas on Israeli civilians and the subsequent war on Hamas in Gaza. At Columbia University in New York, officials announced that Monday classes will be virtual as Passover, a major Jewish holiday, is set to begin this evening. The decision was made to de-escalate the rancor and give us all a chance to consider next steps. This, according to new Columbia President Minouche Shafik. There's other news regarding that with regard to this from Columbia University and USA Today. This from Jorge Ortiz, as he reports it, a well-known rabbi at Columbia University and its affiliated Barnard College, urged Jewish students to return home as soon as possible. This following pro-Palestinian protests on campus, he says, have endangered their safety as tensions at the Ivy League school in New York City continue to rise. Rabbi Eli Buchler, he is a director of the Orthodox Union Jewish Learning Initiative on campus program at Columbia, and the all-women's Barnard College, recommended students stay away from the university until safety conditions have improved substantially. What we are witnessing in and around campus is terrible and tragic, Rabbi Buchler said in an online posting. The events of the last few days, especially last night, made it clear that Columbia University's public safety and the New York Police Department cannot guarantee Jewish students' safety in the face of extreme anti-Semitism and anarchy. This is clear-cut to me. This is clear-cut. What we are seeing is nothing more than Ku Klux Klan-style protesting, bigoted, nasty, deadly protesting on American campuses against Jews. This is not anti-Semitism. This is violent anti-Jewish bigotry. It's nothing more simple or elegant than that. These major universities are allowing what is essentially a pro-terrorist demonstration on their campuses. Now, don't get me wrong. Demonstrations on campuses is something we've all grown up with. When I was a kid, the campus protests against the Vietnam War were a very big thing. They were. And there were unbelievable demonstrations, some of them deadly. Kent State University was the scene of a situation where National Guard troops, believing they were under fire, fired into the crowd and killed students. One of them was an ROTC student, for crying out loud. He was trying to join the U.S. Army. But that was against a war that people found more and more unjust. And those protests were propelled by U.S. intervention in South Vietnam and the forced conscription, the draft of these same college students from one end of the country to the other to go fight that war. There are people that disagree. There are people that say that those demonstrations were treasonous. Well, they weren't. They were people who were coming together to indeed protest against the war and protest against the draft. And there were people that said, well, I can see that they would have an argument. This, on the other hand, is not anything close to that. If we go back to the time frame I just referenced, what we would be seeing in these United States would be a pro-racist rally against Black Americans with the threat of violence. Palestinians want Jews out of their country. From the river, the Jordan River, to the sea, the Mediterranean, Palestine will be free. In other words, Palestine will get the entire country of Israel, and the Jews will be either eliminated by virtue of actual killing, or they'll be pushed off the land to fend for themselves elsewhere. What if we were in a situation where we said, okay, way back in the day, that pro-anti-Black bigotry was okay on college campuses? Those people should be pushed back to another country, or they should be taken out in place. That's what is happening right here. The only difference is the group of people that are being protested. The United States of America killed anti-Black racism decades ago. All of us came together and realized this is stupid. Well, this is beyond stupid, because the specter of murdering Jews in place was reinforced on October 7th. This isn't about Palestinians being free. All these protests are Palestinians calling to be free of Jews. That's it. And there are people here that are hassling Israel about American military support. What? What do you mean? We know what happens to Jews when they do not have a country of their own, a place to live, and a circumstance whereby they can defend themselves. We know what happens. Whether or not, say, for example, if you're, say, younger than the average person watching this broadcast, you may not have been told about the Holocaust, but I assure you it happened. 6 million Jews were gathered up, placed in concentration camps, and murdered. And the reason is because they had no way to defend themselves. After the war, the state of Israel was created for the exact purpose of giving Jews a homeland and a place where they could defend themselves. That is absolutely required by the fact that these people, if they don't have a homeland of their own, if they don't have a place where they can defend themselves, are slaughtered en masse. Slaughtered. I know what I'm talking about. I went to Dachau. I've been there. The actual camp that's left just outside Munich. It's not very far. It's like 3 or 4 miles. It's right there. The actual relic that is in Dachau, it's bad enough. But if you go inside those buildings, there's a diorama of the actual industrial park, this industrial place that was both slave labor and death. I remember I realized I knew that I was going to be a changed man when I went over a bridge that takes you to the camp. I knew it. And I have been. And what I never expected the overwhelming horror that I felt when I saw all of those instruments of death, these ravines cut in the ground, and the actual crematoriums and the gas chambers. You know what absolutely overwhelmed me? Was that I was seeing all those buildings and all of those edifices in color. I'd just seen black and white films like everybody else. I'm Catholic. But you know what? I'm also somebody that's human. And the people that are calling for the destruction of the Jewish state and Jews themselves, they are monsters. They're monsters. They are inhuman. And America's most famous universities are buying into it. Well, John David, how do you give these people a voice to say what they want to say? Well, that is an issue. Should they be able to stand and call for the extermination of Jews? I suppose. I wrote something on X about this. And I said that repugnant speech is protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States, and it's true. But when you are calling for the death of a group of people, not for evil misconduct, but because they go to the wrong church, it seems to me there ought to be a line somewhere. There ought to be a line somewhere. Death to America? Death to Jews? Death to Israel? Really? Is that free speech? Or in this world where, goodness gracious, we can put a gag order on a guy running for president because anything he says might end up with a death threat being given by one of his supporters to somebody else. These Jewish kids can't go to their campuses. They're being told to stay home by campus administration, by the president of Columbia University. This is plain. This is rabid, genocidal, horrifying, anti-Jewish bigotry. And we in the United States have already fought this war once. It was just perpetrated against Black Americans. And now we're just allowing it to go on virtually unfettered because it's against Jews. Well, I am not an anti-Jewish bigot. I am not anybody who believes that anybody should be oppressed for whatever reason, however, we don't oppress criminals that end up in jail. They are not being oppressed. They are being punished. They are being set aside from society because they flat don't care about law. What we're doing now is we're coddling Palestinians who call for the death of Jews. The death of Jews. We're just watching it unfold. Where's the accountability? Where's your opinion? 817-379-2172. Give me a call. Back with more in a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Hey, good morning. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. There is breaking news. The Trump trial has ended early because somebody has a toothache. Oops. Someone has a toothache. What is this? Okay. Anyway, somebody's calling me on the other line. I have two lines. Two. Count them, two. And somebody's calling on the other line. They're probably trying to sell me, I don't know, dental work. Anyway, like I said, somebody's got a toothache in the courtroom. They are suspending the trial for Donald Trump's supposed hush money misappropriation, and we'll get back to that as time continues. So, Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, the victim of a stroke during his campaign for the Pennsylvania Senate, but elected anyway, is getting better. His speech therapy and so on is remarkable. And he is criticizing activists calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and slam fellow Democrats for their crazy response to the attacks that Iran has launched against Israel. It's not appropriate or legal or helpful to advance your argument if you show up in a Starbucks. And he talks about that on a fascinating video that I have available to you, courtesy of Fox News. Now, the interesting thing in this, and I want to make sure that you are warned about this before we go any further, Fetterman uses a word that I don't use on this broadcast, but he is a sitting representative of the United States House of Representatives, and so I did not bleep it. It's not horrifyingly terrible, but it's not polite conversation. I just wanted to warn you before we watch this from Fox News.
I've been a very confirmed and consistent voice in standing with Israel throughout all this, because we can't ever forget Hamas started this, and they have chosen to do the most terrible, awful, unspeakable things. And now they have the ability, they have the power to decide today, send everyone home and surrender, and all of the trauma, the death, and everything in Gaza can end, and you can get back on the path of peace and a two-state solution. It's completely reasonable to want a ceasefire or to have a different view on that. Absolutely, that's a democracy, but it is not appropriate or legal, or it's helpful to advance your argument if you show up in a Starbucks with a bullhorn and start yelling at people, and that doesn't make you noble, it just makes you an asshole. It's very American to protest and to do that in the appropriate way. Then I absolutely support that. I'm not suggesting that you have to agree with my view, but it's just saying it doesn't really allow you to disrupt lives and to inflict those kinds of damages on people that are just trying to get on with their lives.
Well, he calls it the way he sees it. Now, if we can just get him to dress properly. Anyway, that being said, he's absolutely right. I want to make this very clear. People in the United States can certainly protest and certainly practice their free speech rights, right up to, apparently, when threats of violence occur. There are threats of violence against Jewish students at Ivy League schools around the United States and elsewhere. If that is the actual line in the sand, and it must be, because Donald Trump can't say anything about what's going on in his trial because there might be a threat from someone who supports him to somebody he's criticizing. Well, that must be the line. Well, then how come that line isn't being enforced? It's another red line that just doesn't get enforced. And it doesn't get enforced by the left. Now, as we know, Ivy League universities are uniformly left. We know that there is a very leftist, very crazy, progressive circumstance going in the United States Congress. And we know that this is not getting any better. In fact, when I talk about the United States Congress, all you got to think about is Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and the rest of the squad. They're pro-Palestinian, meaning anti-Israel. If you're pro-Palestinian, Palestine being on the record of saying that the elimination of the Jews in the Jewish state is their governing charter, then you're an anti-Jewish, genocidal bigot. It is no more difficult to understand than that. And why in God's name anyone in the United States tolerates this for a second just goes to show you something that I have known for a very long time. When progressives and sneering Democrats stand in front of Americans from one end to the other with whom they disagree politically and start throwing words like racist and deplorable and so on and so forth, all you have to do is wait. Because sooner or later, the people that are standing in front of you and calling you all those names will have people among them committing the exact same offenses, but they won't be held accountable. Therefore, all of this cancels itself out. And so, if there is indeed an anti-Jewish bigotry in the Democrat Party, and I suspect that's true, then it's just another rendition of how they will call you names, but when they're guilty of what they're saying you're doing wrong, well, that's okay. Oh, okay. Right. That renders the whole thing worthless. This is the Wells Report. Back with more in a moment.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Hey, thanks for joining us this morning for the Wells Report, and make sure you share us with all your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, Patreon, and don't forget to check out our Substack column, which will be coming up a little bit later on this afternoon. When you do all this, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give us those thumbs up. They are really important. Check the notification box so you know when we're on the air, and whatever you do, join us every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. Central Time, for the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Good morning, I'm John David Wells. Today is Monday, the 22nd of April, year of our Lord, 2024. On this broadcast, we report the news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We de-propagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. Commentary is opinion. Yours and mine. And so we debate. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Over the weekend, the United States House voted resoundingly to approve $95 billion in foreign aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. This as Speaker Mike Johnson put his job on the line to advance the long-stalled aid by marshaling support from mainstream Republicans and Democrats. In 4 back-to-back votes, overwhelming bipartisan coalitions of lawmakers approved fresh rounds of funding for 3 U.S. allies, as well as another bill meant to sweeten the deal for conservatives that could result in a nationwide ban of TikTok. Okay. The scene on the House floor reflected both the broad support in Congress for continuing to help Ukraine and the extraordinary political risk being taken by Mr. Johnson to defy the anti-interventionist wing of his party, who sought to thwart the measure. Minutes before the vote on assistance for Kiev, Democrats began to wave small Ukrainian flags on the House floor as hard-right Republicans jeered. Let me show you exactly what that looked like here on the Wells Report. This is how that looked as the bill was indeed passed and flag waving then ensued. Check this out.
On this vote, the ayes are 311 and the nays are 112. The bill is passed. Oh, one voting present. I missed it, but thank you. Okay. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. The chair would remind my colleagues to observe proper decorum. Flag waving on the floor is not appropriate. The House will be in order. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. For what purpose does the gentleman from Florida rise? I said, no. The gentlewoman from Florida. Okay. The gentlewoman is not recognized. Colleagues, no, I'm going to. The House will be in order.
Yeah, the House will be in order as soon as all of the horrific political football spiking is over. So here's what we've got. this is what I see. If you listen to the last hour of the Wells Report, you know that I'm a passionate supporter of humanity. And in this particular case, in this context, that humanity is being trampled by people on American campuses working as hard as they possibly can to destroy the Jews and the Jewish state. Now, so what we have here is we have a whole bunch of legislators passing $95 billion for Israel. Well, yeah. Ukraine and Taiwan. But what flag were they waving? Were they waving, I don't know, the Israeli flag? Oh, no. Are you nuts? Were they waving the Taiwanese flag? No, they were waving the Ukrainian flag. Of those three countries, which of those three countries are absolute essential United States allies? Why, Israel and Taiwan. Now, I could understand that a non-intellectually bankrupt Democrat aisle of the U.S. House of Representatives might indeed want to wave Taiwanese flags, Ukrainian flags, and Israeli flags, but they didn't. Ukraine is not a long-time United States ally. Israel and Taiwan are. What exactly are they doing? And I looked at this and I went, waving Ukrainian flags? Really? And so the Congresswoman from Florida, Anna Maria Luna, I believe that's her name, stood up and said, put those damn flags away. Well, absolutely. Put those damn flags away. If you're going to start waving flags and so on, maybe what you ought to wave flags for are all three of those countries. But as far as I'm concerned, the United States ally that is currently under fire is Israel. And oh, by the way, passing $95 billion in aid with 60 million of it, or 60 billion of it going to Ukraine, as opposed to most of that going to Israel. The other part of it going to Taiwan, and okay, here's some money for Ukraine. It seems to me that that would make far more sense. Do I believe that Ukraine should benefit from United States aid? Yes, I would be more strong in that belief if it wasn't for the fact the country's $34 trillion in debt, and we keep handing money out like it's nothing. Pretty soon, that's going to be true. Our money is going to be nothing. But that being said, I'm sitting here and saying, yeah, okay, Ukraine could probably use a little bit of help. That's fine. That is fine. But with United States munitions and weapon systems being inserted into a theater of war against a nuclear superpower, we are courting disaster. This is, for all intents and purposes, since the people in Ukraine are Russians, a Russian civil war, and we are intervening in it. There is a solution. The solution is for those two sides to negotiate. Why aren't there calls for these people to negotiate in earnest, in Paris, in Geneva, wherever? Frankly, I think that the best place to have a Russian-Ukrainian peace conference is Casper, Wyoming. Casper, Wyoming. Let some of those Wyoming ranchers provide security, both outside of the meeting hall and inside the meeting hall, standing there with a toothpick in their mouths and their cowboy hats saying, hey, bozos, make a deal. Because that's what they do in Wyoming. They could do it here in Texas too. But unfortunately, any of the really cool cities, like, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Austin, are all poisoned by the same kind of idiocy that the left keeps foisting on America. My vote is thus, if we're going to hold it in Texas, Sweat Crack, Texas. The cow examination capital of the world. The cow examination glove capital of the world. They made me their man of the year about 5 years ago. And I got some signs. I will show them to you someday. It's a small little town. There's not a lot of, they could use the VFW hall, I suppose. But what has to happen is these people need to get together and fix this. It's not impossible. They just have to sit down and start talking and stop throwing bombs at each other. That is a lot less expensive than funding a war from both sides. What are we doing? And it's not just that war. The Iran-Israeli conflict that's currently going on. We give money to Iran. We give money to Israel. What are we doing? We are financing human misery. And everybody's waving flags on the floor. I can't believe it. But unfortunately, that is the way that is. All right? The United States Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, spent some time talking about this with reporters and explained the entire thing this way. Check this out. This is from, I believe, CNN.
Unlike the Senate's blank check, the House legislation has a number of very important features. It provides for greater accountability over Ukraine aid. It forces an endgame strategy for the Ukraine war. It includes a loan instrument of this foreign aid to Ukraine and the Repo Act to ensure that Russian assets pay for part of the bill. And unlike the Senate's bill, the loan system itself is a House innovation and allows for much needed insight. Now remember that 80% of the Ukraine funding will go to the replenishment of American weapons and stocks and our facilities and our operations. It also includes tough measures and sanctions on Iran and Russia and China, which most of the American people understand is a necessity and a very important thing. Our process in the end ensured that each member was able to consider the individual supplemental elements on their own merits, which is exactly how the House is supposed to work. I know there are critics of the legislation. I understand that. It is not a perfect piece of legislation. We're not ensured that in a time of divided government and in a time where there are lots of different opinions. But there's no question whatsoever that the House has made many strong improvements to the Senate bill, and the product that we've sent over there is much better. This package, I will note, because it's very important, also includes national security priorities, and many of them, but it is the only way that we could have gotten Democrats to support aid to Israel.
Indeed, that is the case. And that last statement is something that you have to keep in mind. Do you hear what he said? It was the only way, by including both Taiwan and Ukraine, it was the only way to get military aid to Israel. That is repugnant. It's absolutely repugnant to me. In order to get money to Israel through the House of Representatives, we had to give $60 billion to Ukraine. $60 billion. Where's that money going? And oh, by the way, why were Democrats cheering? Why were they cheering? Is it because what? The first thing Ukraine is going to do is kick back some of the money to those very Congress people who voted for it? Yeah, that's a political bomb. Yeah, I threw that out there. Do I think it's true? Not really. But I'm still trying to figure out why we keep sending all this money to Ukraine. It seems to me that some of that money is making its way back to American leaders here in this country. Could that possibly be true? God, I hope not. But when things are absurd and not making a whole lot of sense, you got to ask tough questions. Those questions are not being asked by anybody. Well, that's because they're stupid questions. Really? Spoken like a true Washington bureaucrat. A true Washington politician. How many times have those very same people said, that's a stupid conspiracy theory. That's a dumb question. You're asking dumb questions, says President Biden. Am I? I got to be perfectly honest with you. I don't have any idea why American politicians are demanding the southern border down the road there be closed immediately. I believe that one of the reasons that it's not being closed immediately is because the cartels are throwing money at American politicians. putting them on the cartel payroll. It's the only thing that makes sense to me. And if you keep eliminating things down to even an absurd idea, which this isn't, but an absurd idea, then what's left must be the truth. Pretty soon, the hackneyed reasoning for and justifications for an avoidance of accountability lead to the truth. So something's going on. Is Ukraine aid coming back to the United States in the form of political payoffs? You tell me. This is the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I'm John David Wells. Hi. People are saying, you were the man of the year for Sweat Crack, Texas in 2020? Sure was. Look, check this out. See that? They gave me a street sign. Sweat Crack, Texas. Sweet little Texas town of 1,127 people. The cow examination glove capital of the world. I'm proud of that. I am. It's amazing. By the way, when we're talking a little bit about this Ukrainian aid, there are conservatives in the United States House of Representatives that believe that indeed Mike Johnson is making too many deals with Democrats. Kevin McCarthy was accused of the same thing. They removed him from office, and most notably, Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to get Mike Johnson tossed from Congress, which I completely and totally, thoroughly disagree with. However, Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas is someone who was appearing on State of the Union on CNN, mainly because he's apparently the latest Republican pet to show up on CNN. All you got to do if you're a Republican politician is say rotten things about your colleagues, and you'll get a CNN gig. Check this out with Tony Gonzalez talking on CNN. Hello. Go, tape, go.
So you voted yes on the foreign aid package. Do you have confidence that at this point, given that it is still possible that Marjorie Taylor Greene will push to kick him out of the speaker's chair, that he can survive?
He will survive. Look, the House is a rough and rowdy place, but Mike Johnson is going to be just fine. I served 20 years in the military. It's my absolute honor to be in Congress, but I served with some real scumbags. Look, Matt Gaetz, he paid minors to have sex with him at drug parties. Bob Good endorsed my opponent, a known neo-Nazi. These people used to walk around with white hoods at night. Now they're walking around with white hoods in the daytime. What didn't surprise me that some of these folks voted against aid to Israel, but I was encouraged to see by a nearly 10-to-1 mark that Republicans supported our allies on the battlefield.
Wow. Okay. I should say that the federal government did look into Matt Gaetz and those allegations, and they decided not to prosecute. I've heard you say a lot of things. What you just said at the top of this discussion was intense. And is it your sense that, well, I'm just asking from your own opinion and own perspective, you're trying to put them in a box and put them in a corner?
Members are tired. We're exhausted. It has been a brutal Congress, but we're also dug in. You know, for some reason, these fringe people think as if they have the high ground. They do not. I assure you, the rank and file members that normally are kind of easygoing, doing the right thing, put their head down, they vote yes or no, but they're not public about it. Those days are over. The fight is here. And this whole pushing, if someone's going to poke you in the chest, the way you take care of a bully is you bloody their nose. And that's where we're at. We're at a point where we're just trying to govern. And that's what Mike Johnson has done. Govern in an honorable way. You do not leave your allies on the battlefield to bleed out. I know that because I served 20 years in the military and 5 years in Iraq and Afghanistan. The politics is pretty thick right now, but we have to stand up now more than ever. I think you're seeing Republicans go, we want to govern.
Yeah. So you're going to accuse one of your members of sex crimes, and you're going to continue to reiterate the fact you served 20 years in the U.S. military. All right, Representative Gonzalez, congratulations. You've trashed the Republican Party on CNN. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't have anything to do with the Republican Party anymore. Because that party is populated by, strangely enough, people like Tony Gonzalez, who, at least on this particular circumstance, looks like a scumbag to me. I could be wrong. Oh, wait a minute. No, I'm not wrong. Yeah, okay, so I could be wrong only if I am wrong about being wrong, which means I'm right, right?
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home. for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good morning. John David Wells at your service. Thanks very much for joining us today. If you find value in this broadcast, please do me a favor. Support it. If you have not subscribed, please, by all means, do subscribe. Pass this show, pass the link to your favorite platform along to your friends. Ask them to subscribe. Give us thumbs ups. Give us those. Hit the notification button. And yes, if you would like to support the broadcast financially, go to patreon.com/The Wells Report. I will be more than happy to accept a buck or two every month or so. And that would help us immeasurably as we try to keep this broadcast on the air. This is not something I get paid for. I'm not doing it because I get a fat paycheck. I'm doing it because somebody needs to do it. And if it's not going to be me, who? Who? Do we need ghost guns? I am a firearms enthusiast of the constitutional kind, of the practical reality kind. People that don't have a way to defend themselves are often attacked. And they're attacked by all manner of people, criminals, shall we say, politicians. Not necessarily the same thing, depending on your point of view about politicians. Anyway, people that cannot defend themselves are routinely attacked, often with deadly circumstances. The best way that I'm aware of to defend yourself under a huge range of conditions and types of attack are firearms. As far back as I can remember, and that goes all the way back to the Civil War, firearms in the United States have had serial numbers. Ghost guns do not have serial numbers. Okay, so what's the story there? Do we need ghost guns? This morning, it was breaking news, in fact. The Supreme Court has decided to agree or decide whether the Biden administration overstepped a 1968 federal law by imposing new regulations on the makers of ghost guns. These are mail order kits that allow people to build untraceable guns at home. Ghost guns are kits a user can purchase online to fully assemble a functional firearm. They carry no serial numbers. They do not require background checks. They provide no transfer records for traceability. Critics say they are attractive to people who are otherwise legally prohibited from buying firearms. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives approved a regulation in 2022 that required the manufacturers to have serial numbers on the kits and keep records of who purchased them. Advocacy groups and 5 companies that manufacture the kits sued, arguing the regulation was not permitted under law. The rule does not prohibit the sale or possession of any ghost gun kit, nor does it block an individual from purchasing one. Instead, it requires compliance with federal laws that impose conditions on the commercial sale of firearms. A U.S. District Court in Texas threw out the rule, and the conservative 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals mostly upheld that decision. The Supreme Court, meanwhile, has weighed into the case on its emergency docket, pausing lower court rulings that barred the regulation from taking effect. Last summer, a 5-4 court sided with the Biden administration in the first emergency request, allowing the regulations to remain in effect while legal challenges played out. At the time, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett sided with liberal justices in the administration's favor. After the order was issued, the district court stepped in to block the regulations as applied to 2 manufacturers. The Supreme Court stepped in again last fall to allow the regulations to remain in effect. The Biden administration said police departments have faced, quote, an explosion of crimes involving ghost guns in recent years. In 2017, police submitted about 1,600 ghost guns for tracing. 4 years later, the number had grown to more than 19,000. Both sides, the administration and the manufacturers, asked the Supreme Court to take the case. Okay. Let's take a look at the journalism on this. The Biden administration said police departments have faced an explosion of crimes involving ghost guns. 3% of American crime, 3%, involves the use of a gun. How many of those ghost guns are out there? Just how big a percentage of these ghost guns represent an explosion of crimes involving ghost guns? 1,600 ghost guns were submitted for tracing in 2017. Now that number has grown to 19,000. By the way, that was 4 years later. That's 2021. That's a statistic from 2021. Frankly, in my particular viewpoint, ghost guns are not that big a deal. Okay? They're not. However, I do want you to search your thoughts and tell me whether or not ghost guns are a thing. Should they be available? Is that really something that we need? Do we need ghost guns? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Brad says, give me a musket or give me death. Man, don't stop at a musket. You know, there are an awful lot of people in this nation that want you to carry around a slingshot. That being said, look, do we need ghost guns? I'm not exactly sure we need ghost guns. However, since politicians have shown a predilection to destroy the Bill of Rights of the United States, I happen to believe that nothing should be supported coming out of the Congress that involves one of the first 10 amendments and probably some of the other amendments from on the Constitution of the United States. I just don't think they have any kind of reason to do anything that alters any right, infringe on any right, because they infringe on these rights all the time. That's why we have a two-tiered legal system. That's why the headlines of the day have to do with Donald Trump in court, when other highly placed political operatives are just let go. You see, when you do something like that, when you decide that the laws are inconvenient, when you decide that the Bill of Rights is an impediment, then you don't get to rule or impose any kind of infringement on those rights until you get your mind right. That's the way I see it. I don't think we need to have ghost guns. But on the other hand, I don't think that the government of the United States, including the Supreme Court, ought to be messing with it. Ghost guns are not a problem. They are a confection. They are an invention to create a problem where one doesn't really exist. I mean, let's face it, the government of the United States is in possession of, I don't know, just guessing, at least hundreds of thousands of weapons that don't have serial numbers. And they don't have serial numbers for a reason. And there are not huge numbers of crimes being accomplished with ghost guns. Mostly ghost guns are sitting around going, the owners say, I've got a ghost gun. It can't be traced. Doesn't need to be traced. It's right there on your hip. Yeah. But the police can't trace it. Okay. Do you have an LTC? Yeah. You got a cell phone? Uh-huh. You got a ghost gun? Uh-huh. They can trace it. Oh, well, I'll just throw it in the river. But then you won't have your ghost gun. The whole thing is comically absurd unless, of course, you know somebody or have been shot with a ghost gun. Then it's not absurd at all. But how many times does that happen? I don't think many. So I'm looking at the Supreme Court going, my goodness gracious, nice that they are spending time on the scourge of ghost guns. All it is a way to infringe on the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Granted, I don't believe we need ghost guns. Okay? I don't. But until you stop working as hard as you possibly can to overturn an unalienable right on the Bill of Rights given to us by God, not by the government of the United States, you can put all that stuff in your pocket, up to and including the Supreme Court of the United States. Why are you doing this? Why do you have anything to do with this ruling? Especially if it goes against ghost guns. I mean, this is an infringement. Oh, you just want to have a gun that you can commit a crime with that can't be traced. Well, there are a lot of ways to solve gun crime that don't involve the serial number of the weapon. Most of the time, in crimes, the police have the weapon. It wouldn't matter if there was a serial number on it or not. That's why I say this is just a confection of the anti-gun left. And the Supreme Court and the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, et cetera, are playing ball with it. And oh, by the way, these horrifying statistics of the explosion of crimes involving ghost guns, that information is 3 years old. When they start talking about how ghost guns were only submitted for tracing 1,600 times in 2017. But in 2021, there were 19,000 of them. All right. Whatever. While we're on the Supreme Court is now taking up homelessness as record numbers of Americans are lacking permanent housing. The Supreme Court is debating how far cities can go to prevent people from sleeping in public areas without effectively criminalizing homelessness, an issue of increasing importance as the number of Americans without shelter has reached record levels. When a California-based appeals court ruled in 2018 that an anti-camping ordinance in Boise, Idaho could not be enforced against homeless people in the city if they lacked sufficient shelters, the Supreme Court let that decision stand. But when that same ruling was used to declare that similar bans in Grants Pass, Oregon, amounted to cruel and unusual punishment, the Supreme Court agreed to hear that city's appeal. Oh, good. This ought to be a great argument. In one of the most closely watched cases this term, Grants Pass officials say their anti-camping punishments, starting at fines of $295 and leading to jail sentences for repeat offenses, are neither cruel nor unusual in the ordinary sense of those words. And they're necessary to prevent homeless encampments from taking over the parks and sidewalks, a persistent problem in many cities since the original 2018 decision. Quote, encampments have multiplied unchecked throughout the West because generally applicable restrictions on public camping no longer play their critical deterrent role, resulting in spikes in violent crime, drug overdoses, disease, fires, and hazardous waste. The city's attorneys wrote in a legal brief that previewed the oral arguments today. Advocates for homeless challenge the restrictions, say that they are so expansive, it's impossible for someone without access to shelter to live in Grants Pass without risking punishment. The city of 38,000 in southern Oregon lacks affordable housing. It has no homeless shelter for adults. As a result, hundreds of people lack a place to sleep. Anti-vagrancy laws. Anti-vagrancy laws are not unconstitutional. They are not inhuman, cruel, or a violation of human rights. They keep people from camping in the park. I know exactly what people of Grants Pass have to do. They have to take up a collection, and they send their homeless to San Francisco or face arrest for vagrancy laws. There you go. Problem solved. You see, it's about solutions here. We come up with actual solutions to actual problems instead of playing political football with the idea that people can be able to sleep and hump and defecate on the public spaces because they don't have a job. or a way to have shelter. It seems to me that what you need to do is you need to send those people to places like Austin, Texas, where that kind of stuff is welcomed. God bless those people. It's something that we need to do. We need to open our hearts to slipping on the sidewalk because we stepped on a doo-doo. Yeah, I said it. It may be the first time in the history of the Wells Report that I said the word doo-doo. Huh. This is the Wells Report. This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Coming up, there's something else that's going on today, and you need to know about it, I think, ish. It's next.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right, for about $50 a month, you'll get lightning-fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-245-6155. That's 866-245-6155. Again, 866-245-6155. 866-245-6155.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Let's see. I want to double check something here. I want to make sure that I get this exactly right because I don't want to screw this up. Yeah. So this evening at sunset, Passover begins. To my Jewish brothers and sisters, happy Passover. God bless you. It is also Earth Day. Earth Day. It started in 1970. I was 12. And we thought it was kind of cool. It had a cool little logo, and we had it on T-shirts. The T-shirt I had with it looked like a, let me see if I can find it for you. Let me see if I can find the original Earth Day logo. Let's see. Earth Day logo. Earth Day logo. Okay, Earth Day logo. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Let me see if I can find it. It was really cool. I mean, it was, yeah, and it's been turned into stupidness. But I'm seeing, I'm scrolling through all this stuff. I guess I could show you what I'm scrolling through here. Let me do that for you. Okay. So, oops. Let me try that one more time. There you go. See all these? See, these are not the, let me see if I can put in original, ORIGINAL, original Earth Day logo. See if we can find it. That's close. That's close right there. Okay. This was it. All right. Let me see if I can, yeah. So that was it. But all we had was this one little thing that looks like an E that's been closed off. Okay. That's pretty much all we had. And it was kind of nice. I mean, and I had a t-shirt, it was green. And that's before I realized that wearing green t-shirts can be, oh, here we go. This is better. Now you're beginning to see it. See what I mean here? That was the green, kind of a pukey green. And this was the logo. And I had one on a t-shirt and I wore it and I thought I was hip and with it. But that wasn't really the case. It was basically, it was a good idea. It's a good idea to take care of the earth. There's nothing wrong with taking care of the earth. However, the problem with it is it's been taken to extremes with people trying to stop people from having a fun life, driving a real car, and doing all manner of other things for the sake of Earth Day, for the planet. And of course, now we're in a situation where we're all going to die unless we pay politicians huge amounts of tax money. Anyway, climate change this is in USA Today, this very day. All right. Climate change may be an existential threat to humanity, but as Earth Day 2024 rolls around, some of the people most concerned about the planet are not peddling doom. They're spreading optimism. There's plenty to feel good about. Huge strides toward fighting climate change. Decades of work have led to other environmental disasters in being averted. That's right. The pending doom of environmental disaster was averted thanks to Earth Day. What environmental disaster are they talking about? I mean, since Earth Day, we've had countless hurricanes, tornadoes, dust storms. I mean, what are these impending environmental disasters that have been averted? Oh, acid rain. We were able to get rid of acid rain. How were you able to get rid of acid rain? How is that? We were able to stop coal-burning power plants from putting up ash in the air that would lead to the pH factor of the water turning toward the acid range. Acid rain. Ah! Acid falling from the sky. Uh-huh. And how did that work? Well, we don't have acid rain anymore. And we were able to curtail a whole bunch of evil coal-burning power plants from making electricity and putting up that ash because we made them put in billions of dollars worth of filters so that the ash wouldn't cause all the acid rain. That's great. And after they spent all that money, what did you do? Well, we kept chasing them down because what we wanted to do basically is have people living without electricity entirely. Because electricity, of course, is going to destroy the world. Right. Air conditioning, got to get rid of Freon. There's an ozone hole. That's another one. Apparently, we've evaded the ozone hole. Great. And all we had to do it was pay 10 times more for the stuff that we use for air conditionings to work. I'm sorry, do I sound cynical? Maybe it's because Earth Day is fine. Support the earth. The earth is good. I mean, it's the only home we have. I get it. But these are the same people that allow people to make doo-doo on the streets in their liberal enclaves, isn't it? What about that kind of Earth Day? I'm sorry. That kind of sarcasm that I have for this is rife, isn't it? This has been the Wells Report. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. I used doo-doo on the air. I talked about the ozone hole, Brad. Oh, my God. All righty then. Brad, you were on fire today. Nice job. I enjoyed your commentary. Let's see. Yvonne, is that guy a rhino or what? Man, what is going on with Gonzalez? God, that guy's a jerk. He's just a flaming jerk. Yeah. Yep. All right, you guys, I got to go because I got to get ready for my next State Guard assignment, which means washing all the bedclothes and linens and uniforms that I used for the State Guard assignment I used last week. I got to get busy as a little beaver. So God bless you and yours.